Before we get going again, make sure that if you are watching us on YouTube on this Comeback Sports program, make sure that you subscribe to Comeback Sports. You go to YouTube, subscribe to Comeback Sports, the channel, and then you will be fed all this content, all the different topics that we will be discussing, both our full shows and individual segments that our producer Ben Kudo does a fantastic job cutting up for us every single week. Also, you can follow Brandon and I on Twitter. You can take a look at our handles at the bottom of the screen. And finally, you can call in at that number at the bottom of the screen and ask us a question, bring up a sports topic, give your opinion during the show, or even leave a voicemail throughout the week. We'll be sure to listen to it and answer it on the show as well. We're going to head back to topic number 6. Brandon was just finishing up his opinions on F1. Brandon is a massive F1 fan. He knows what he's talking about. So make sure you go back and listen to that F1 segment if you didn't hear it earlier. But Brandon, we got the British Open that just happened over the weekend, and I know you want to talk about topic number 6.
Yeah, I mean, while the British GP was going on, the British Open was going on too. So it was a big week for the Brits and in the UK with 2 big events going on. But Collin Morikawa, man, really putting down a statement here, winning the British Open and really doing it in fine fashion, to be honest. Played 4 great rounds and really controlled the game and controlled the course. I think we had talked about going into this how you really had to have accuracy off the tee, and that's exactly what he did. I think his tee to green numbers were amazing. He stayed out of trouble. He stayed out of the long stuff. He stayed out of those deep pot bunkers that we talked about. And then with a flat stick, he had an amazing 4 days with the flat stick, putting the ball. And I mean, even on 18 there, just a smooth putt to finish it. So I think Collin Morikawa, man, it wasn't a guy that we had picked, but a couple of guys we did pick were up there, like Louis Oosthuizen and Jordan Spieth. I shouldn't say we, I should say you, because my pick wasn't really around. But yeah, I mean, Collin Morikawa was a guy that kind of snuck under the radar here for most people. And this is now his 2nd major title. So I think he's really putting himself down and putting a foothold down that he is really one of the young guns out there on the PGA Tour and on the international golf game going forward. And I'm proud to say that he's an American golfer, man. So I was super happy to see an American win the British Open. Because, you know, a lot of times the Brits will come over here and win the U.S. Open or somebody from the international game will win the U.S. Open. So it's good for the occasional American to go over there on the open courses, on those tough courses in the tough weather and, you know, in the birthplace of the game to be able to show that we can put ourselves up there with the best golfers in the world. And Collin Morikawa, man, puts himself up there and shows a statement. But I really want to say, you know, cheers to Collin for having a great weekend and 4 great rounds and winning the British Open, man. He had himself a great weekend, and I'm sure he's enjoying it right now.
Yeah, if anybody watched the final round on Sunday, you saw that Morikawa was just locked in. I mean, he was hitting awesome shots, drilling putts, very accurate, like you mentioned. He joined he got on the PGA Tour in 2019 as a rookie. 2020, he wins the PGA Championship, and then this season he wins the British Open. And welcome another superstar to the PGA Tour. There are so many good young golfers on the PGA Tour now. It's scary. I mean, you think about, you just mentioned Jordan Spieth, who came in 2nd in the British Open. You know, we talked a lot about Koepka and DeChambeau and their little feud. That's great for golf. And, you know, we still got Rory McIlroy, still got Dustin Johnson. Justin Thomas is an awesome golfer. I mean, there's so much depth to the top end of the PGA Tour that there's so many guys that have a chance now. We're almost not seeing that random golfer anymore come up and win a major. I mean, I know it's happened over the last few years, but, you know, it doesn't seem to be happening as frequently now that there's so much talent at the top. I mean, Louis Oosthuizen is really good. And then he actually led for the first 3 days of the tournament and then just kind of couldn't hang on in round number 4. He couldn't keep up with Morikawa because Morikawa was so good down the stretch. But, yeah, I mean, this kid's a superstar. He's going to be up there with Spieth and Thomas and Dustin Johnson and Koepka and DeChambeau. And those are just the good American young golfers. Never mind all the international guys, including Jon Rahm, McIlroy, and so forth. So, you know, add another guy to that list. Morikawa was just so impressive at the British Open. The weather actually held up. It wasn't as bad as it was, everyone was predicting. There was supposed to be some rain that went through, but they had some beautiful weather there, including on Sunday, where it was actually, I believe, in the 80s at one point, which is kind of unheard of for England on the coast there. So it was just an awesome weekend of golf. I thought it was going to be an unbelievable finish, but Morikawa was so good down the stretch that it was almost a little anticlimactic. I thought, if Spieth could keep going, Morikawa needed to make a mistake on the back nine somewhere, and he just didn't do it. Spieth's biggest problem was, I believe it was on Saturday, where he bogeyed 17 and 18, and that put him in the position where he had to chase on Sunday. Not a bad position to be in, but he was kind of so far behind at one point that he needed a lot to happen in order to get back into it, especially needing Morikawa to make a mistake. And Morikawa didn't. He was so good down the stretch, and he was so consistent and fun to watch in the British Open. It was awesome.
Yeah, man. Like I said, cheers to Collin Morikawa. But quickly, two things, before I'll send it back to you, is you bring up the weather, and it was like that at the British Grand Prix, too. It was in the mid-80s. So, mid-80s at the British Open, maybe Collin Morikawa felt like he was just playing at the West Coast swing, like he was playing in California, or like he was playing, on Florida again. Maybe it felt like he was playing at home, so it didn't have as much of an open feel, and he just played like he was at home and dominated. So that's a storyline that we might want to think about there. But also Louis Oosthuizen, man, top three finishes in the Open. Believe it or not, eventually he is going to crack that win, and I believe eventually he will be the Open champion.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned there about Morikawa maybe feeling a little bit more at home, he actually hadn't played at a links golf course before this year. The first time he played at a links golf course in a major tournament, or in a PGA tournament, so to speak, was the week before at the Scottish Open. He actually finished tied for 71st, so he just made the cut, didn't play great, but then learned how to play at a links golf course, and all of a sudden he tears it up in Sandwich, England. So interesting how quickly he was able to adapt to that type of course. It's very different. There's more wind, but like you mentioned, because of the weather, I think that really helped Morikawa, like you said, and I think that's a big storyline thinking about that run that he made.